Hello, Cuna. All right, we're going to be reviewing who filed for election. Actually, it was uh, about a week and a half ago, so on the 15th of March, was it? Freedom Bros, they did a full extensive statewide thing if you're interested in doing that. It was about an hour. But we're going to just focus on Ada County. All right. So there's this article by Idaho Statesman which kind of goes a little bit more into this. So in 2 months, voters across Ada County will send finalists for county commissioner, sheriff, and prosecutor on the general election. So before we go to the article, I guess we can just take a look at the actual filing. So you could look on this on the adacounty.id.gov slash I think elections, and you can see the filings here. So for commissioners, there's three of them, and two of them are up for re-election for 1 2-year term. So you have Ryan Davidson, who's the incumbent. He's already there. And then you have Clyde Dornier running against him. I think he actually filed in Eagle for some kind of fire chief. When I googled his name, and also on YouTube, there's an interview with him. I could not find any page or campaign page regarding specifically for commissioner. Democrats, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm not really seeing anything. Well, I don't know enough history about that. And then here in Commissioner District 3, the main guy is Tom Daly. And here you have Heather Luther, which is an employee. And actually, there's the article from Idaho Dispatch will be talking more about that. Brandon Durst, his name should be pretty well known if you've been following Idaho politics, and Sharon Ullman, which the article will talk some more. And then, of course, Democrat candidates, which I'm not going to be speaking so much about right now. Also, we have, let's see here, Sheriff. Matthew Clifford, our current one, he's not running against anybody in the Republican primary, but of course in the general election. I think that's, what is it, November? So in May is the primary, and then November is when you vote amongst the party picks. So it looks like this race is going to go into November. Ada County prosecutor is just two guys. They'll be running against each other in the general. All right, so here's the article. In 2 months, voters across Ada County, today is March, so yes, in May. Voters across Ada County will send finalists for a county commissioner, sheriff, and prosecutor on the general election, with multiple candidates who have previously held public office, including one who was ousted last year from his position as a school superintendent in North Idaho, which is Durst. The Republican primary race for commissioner from southern Ada County will be one to watch this May. Incumbent first-termer Tom Daly faces two well-known challengers, Brandon Durst and Sharon Ullman. Durst served as a Democratic state legislator from 2006 to 2013. He later switched parties and worked as an education policy analyst for the Idaho Freedom Foundation, which fights the state's socialist public policies. He spent now just Idaho statesman does not like Idaho Freedom Foundation. Anyway, that'll be clear. He spent 3 combative months in 2023 as superintendent of the West Bonner School District in Idaho's Panhandle. He resigned after voters recalled 2 trustees who supported him, and after the State Board of Education refused to let him receive an emergency certification to remain as superintendent, saying he wasn't qualified. Ullman was an Ada County commissioner from 2001 to 2002, and again from 2009 to 2013. She ran unsuccessfully for governor in 2010 and for commissioner in 2018 and 2022, losing to Daly in the May 2022 primary. Daly is a former state representative from Boise. In interviews with statesmen, Daly, Ullman, and Durst expressed a shared desire to minimize the county budget, but offered diverging approaches. Daly highlighted programs in specialty courts under his tenure that aim to minimize public safety-related costs, which account for over 60% of the county's budget, by keeping juveniles and others out of the criminal justice system. There he is. He also cited efforts to fine-tune the number of county personnel to achieve zero growth in the overall number, despite the rapid growth of the county's population. County officials must tighten our belts amid inflation and rising costs, he said. My theme in public service has always been to empower people and limit government, he said. For Ullman, looks like I have hair. Look at that. Hey, all right. For Ullman, these efforts at cost cutting haven't gone far enough. The county budget and spending have gotten bloated since she served as commissioner from 2001 to 2002, and again from 2009 to 2013, she said. And that's a picture of Sharon Ullman. She also took issue with the legality and wisdom of the county's decision last year to spend $46 million on building and a new coroner's facility, arguing that officials could have instead purchased and outfitted a building next door that was on the market for $8 million. Durst flagged cutting the county government size and budget as one of the top concerns, along with addressing what he sees as the effects of the border crisis in Ada County, including the fentanyl crisis and the strain on public services and the county's social safety net. He said, there's a picture of Brandon Durst. All right, he said education would be another top priority. I feel like our county has two of the largest school districts in the state of Idaho, and no one on the county commission currently has children in school, and I think that's a problem, he said. The Spokesman Review in Spokane reported that Durst has said public schools should compete with private ones for state funds, religious schools should receive public money, and church should not be separated from state. On X, where he's posted more than 19,000 times, Durst has said transgender people are living in sin and Idaho should ban gay pride flags. The Spokesman Review reported. Asked whether the controversy around his tenure as superintendent may harm his campaign for commissioner, Durst said, I think it's only a controversy if you want to make it a controversy. The reality is that my work as a superintendent was actually very strong, he said, citing reforms to the district's budgeting processes and labor practices. To the extent that those who wish to see me fail try to bring them up and make them an issue in this campaign, that's for them to decide to do. Daley, Ullman, and Durst are joined on the GOP ballot by Heather L. Luther. Okay, they don't say anything about her, which is a weird thing. So she's actually an employee of Ada County from when I looked her up. So that's interesting, and I mean, a Google search, you can pull that up yourself. I don't know why, like, she's a supervisor of one of the departments. I don't know why they didn't mention that. Anyway, the winner will face the winner of the Democratic primary, which has two candidates, Devin Gutierrez and Jennifer Andrews Kelly. The winner will represent District 3, which reaches from the Canyon County line east to the Elmore County line, encompassing southern parts of Meridian and Boise. But here's the map. The three Ada County commissioners are elected by district, with Districts 1 and 2 covering the most populous parts of Boise and western Ada County, and District 3 sprawling from Canyon County line east to the Elmore County line. All three commissioners, as of 2023 and 2024, are Republicans. Okay, for Ada County, for CUNA, we are District 3. What do they say? The winner will represent District 3, but commissioner candidates are on the ballot countywide. All right, so District 1, Sheriff Prosecutor contest, incumbent Republican Commissioner Ryan Davidson faces a primary challenge from Clyde Dornier. The winner will face the winner of a three-way Democratic primary contest among Graham Carter, Jonathan Lashley, and Preston K. Fisher. As with District 3, this race will be on the ballot countywide. District 1 represents mostly Boise, roughly north of Interstate 84 and east of Idaho 55. Now, he went against, there was some, this was like during COVID that they got elected. So there was some controversy. I think it was Kenyon, I believe. She didn't want to run because she said it was like too divisive in terms of having to work with a lot of them. And then there was another Democrat that Ryan Davidson beat, and I can't remember her name, but she's like that Spanish-ish heritage thing. But anyway, I think her husband's like a doctor, but I'm not sure what she's doing. I thought that maybe she would have run again. I mean, she was pretty close. Sheriff incumbent Republican Matt Clifford has no primary challenger. In November, he will face the Constitution Party's Doug Traubel, an advocate of constitutional sheriffs, whom Clifford defeated in May GOP primary in 2022, and Victor McGraw, a Democrat whom Clifford beat in the November 2022 general election. And then prosecutor incumbent Republican Jan Bennett has no primary challenger. She will face Democrat Jonathan Baldoff in November. List of candidates for county office. Okay, so we already went through that. I'm not sure really what else to add. It'll be a pretty interesting race for this one. And what's interesting, which is perhaps interesting, is how you have two well-known names running against Tom Daley. Now, no. Anyway, I mean, I have my biases, for like an Ada County employee supervisor. Let's say she were to win, would she probably be working toward enlarging or shrinking her coworkers? budgets. Well, probably increasing it. That's just my assumption. I haven't really followed her, so maybe I shouldn't even say that. But anyway, this is going to be a big this is going to be a slugfest for sure. Um, yeah, this is going to be tough. Sharon Ullman in Ada County, conservatives of Ada County. She did post, I guess, regarding her concerns with Tom Daly, and she mentioned that I guess he's 80 years old, and Sharon is saying that she's a full generation younger. And this is not like the representatives and senators. This is like a full-time job. And even with me, just trying to watch like the meetings that are what like once a week. I mean, some of these meetings at night go like 4 hours. I mean, this is not. But in terms of stamina, he seemed from everything that I've been watching the meetings, he has the stamina a lot more than me. There was one meeting where it was, I think, like 3 hours or something. They didn't even stop for a bathroom break. They just pushed right through it. So I haven't seen any issues with that being it. Not like sleepy Joe Biden. All right, so there's none of that. Yeah, I don't know anything. We're going to talk about this. I mean, these are just the people who filed, and really to the degree how serious they end up, running for it or not. That's another question. I mean, that's also part of the reason why I did not make a video right away on that Friday. I really wanted to, or I guess the following week. Well, I don't know, whatever the time's flying because yeah, anybody can put their name in the rink, but whether they actually start fundraising, I actually took a look at the Sunshine website for this is the District 23 races, and it seems the last updated fundraising information is from like January, so there might be some extra stuff. Okay, so here is District 23. Senator Todd Lakey, nobody's running against him in terms of the Republican primary. And basically, whoever's District 23 is going to vote Republican. And these other guys don't stand a chance. And historically, they have not. Okay, so here, this is going to be interesting. So we have the incumbent Melissa Durant. Chris Bruce, who's a city councilman, he filed, but when I was looking through his Facebook page that says Chris Bruce for Idaho, I did not see any updates. It seemed like the last announcement was back in November when he was running against Tina Lambert. So in that particular race, these ones are going to be pretty interesting because there's only two of them. Because the one that Chris Bruce ran against, he went against like Sean Laughlin, Tina Lambert, some other people. I mean, it was like 5 people all were running, and so that ended up splitting the vote. I did an analysis earlier. CUNA has basically determines the race. And so Chris Bruce really has that local name recognition, and if he can really leverage that, if he really chooses to push on this, because we'll see. There's still some time. Maybe he will push it forward regarding his campaign strategy in terms of going door to door. Going back to the Ada County one, why would you want to be a commissioner with that being full time? I think their salary is like mid hundred thousands, like around 150,000 a year. I mean, so some people are saying, oh, they're just in it for the money. I don't know. Whatever, the people are going to say what they're going to say. All right, but anyway, for the representatives, this is a part-time gig. I think it's from like January to March. I mean, I think they're in the last week of the legislative session, so things are wrapping up pretty quick. All right, so this one, how would it go between the two? We'll see. I have been. So here's the thing. Generally speaking, if you're into big business, right, which is ag, that is reliant on government subsidies to survive because of free trade, and also illegal immigrants, because you got to compete against Mexico. You're just gonna have a bad time. So the interests of agriculture, with which Melissa Durant's family is well known as the Big D Ranch, um, her voting has been pretty representative of the standard big agricultural business. And in some other videos, I'm going to show her actually like talking there on it. But I think Chris Bruce would be a solid option. And it's interesting. So on the Freedom Bros, when they were doing the analysis, I think it was one of not Brandon Durst, not the guy running, but now I can't seem to remember it. But they're not related. The other Durst, the bigger Durst, the one who wants to get into like into the ring, literally for fundraising with other politicians, the bulldog of Idaho politics. But he was saying that, and I don't know, this is just a funny thing. I don't know if this is like a dig or a positive thing. I mean, they were saying it in a positive light. They were saying, yeah, if you get Chris Bruce in, he will be a solid 80% IFF score guy. So, I mean, okay, I think we'll take that. I mean, Melissa Durant is probably around 50%, you know, basically shilling for, big ag, and all of the baggage that comes with it. And the big companies, and IACI, she's an IACI. IACI supports her. Speaking of IACI, IACI also supports Tina Lambert, Sean Digert, Tina Lambert's opponent, Sean Digert. So Tina Lambert has been like an absolute superstar. She is on the budget committee, which has like 10 senators and 10 representatives, and she has consistently voted against increased budgets that go beyond the maintenance budget, and this is a whole another discussion. So you can see kind of like the contrast between how Tina Lambert will vote and how Melissa Durant votes. Tina Lambert consistently votes along with what we'll say is the freedom wing, right? I guess some will call them the extremists, but the right wing. And what I would say is more of the definitive or the defining aspects is the freedom wing tend to be self-employed and don't work for the big companies. Are independent contractors. They're like North Idaho, or they don't really tend to have big agricultural backgrounds or influence that are influencing their decisions. So obviously they're going to be voting against the larger company interests of Idaho. And when I say big company, like I said, that's all relative. We're not talking about international corporations. We're just talking about big companies for Idaho. I mean, they're still Idaho based. And that's why, like I said, or I've said previously, even with a Melissa Durant, right? Even with these big company shills of Idaho, they're really just statewide big. They're not global homo international, shipping jobs over to Mexico. What they're trying to do is make it in Idaho and then ship in the Mexicans, right? So that's a distinction away from national politics, where when you talk about big companies like Coca-Cola, Facebook, Meta, and all of those, Apple and all that, those are international and those are shipping jobs, out of the U.S. Versus when you're talking about big Idaho or those companies, it tends to be isolated within Idaho, but it does relate to giving them subsidies, like the Idaho Launch Program. So there is kind of this, how little or how focused do you want to go? Do you want to just make it, if you both can claim Idaho first, okay, 100%. I think both can claim their Idaho first, because if you are supporting Simplot, right? If you are supporting Idaho Power and the hospital chain, St. Luke's, right? You are Idaho first, because they are predominantly, those are the biggest employers in Idaho. They are the job creators. And so if you are supporting them and you're giving them kickbacks, you can arguably say that you are Idaho first. However, it goes even more micro when you go to the freedom right sort of things, which would you say Tina Lambert and arguably probably Chris Spruce would say this too. It's like be like, no, even for Idaho taxpayers, we don't want our Idaho state taxes going into the pockets of those big, relatively big companies. So they're Idaho first, but they would say they're Idaho first for the individuals living within Idaho, and not necessarily for the big companies, not the big employers like the St. Luke's. St. Luke's is huge. Walmart is big too, but and I don't think anyone's really shilling to put money into Walmart. So anyway, that's pretty much it. And we will see how things develop. IACI, IACI is basically the Idaho Chamber of Commerce. They merged with like the industrial arm, but they're just called, instead of Idaho Chamber of Commerce, they're just called IACI, which is whatever it stands for. I can't remember off the top of my head. So those represent the big state level companies, and that is a great, when you think about it, that is just, which is another reason why I love Idaho, is that even if you go into the big corporate interests of Idaho, it's still not it's still keeping the tax money within Idaho, relatively speaking, or within the region, the Rocky Mountain region. So I mean, hey, I'll take that. I mean, that's so much more preferential than Glomo Homo. So and then also in terms of the moral aspects of things, anyway, that's more of a separate discussion. They tend to agree on the moral sort of agreements, but that'll be in a further review. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.